let's talk pantry challenge. So I decided that I wanted to do a pantry challenge for myself this year. We started January 15th. The next time we went grocery shopping after that was March 16th or 17th, I believe. It was 2 months worth of time that I did not go grocery shopping. Some pictures and things on my iPad to try and keep the timeline in order. January 15th, I took inventory of everything that I had in my pantry, in my freezer, in my refrigerator, and I wrote it all on a whiteboard. So I had it in front of me, hanging on the fridge. I think that was a really smart idea, just because it was kind of like the short list of everything that I had. I didn't necessarily have to go looking for anything because I wrote down everything that I really wanted to use up or knew that I had a lot of, knew that I didn't like but I needed to use, just everything basically that I couldn't see if I didn't open my fridge. I wrote it on this list. I think that helped me when it came time to plan meals. I could just look at the board and be like, oh, I have cornmeal and I have a can of chili. I could make cornbread waffles with chili. And I mean, that was one of the things that we ate and it was very good. But it was a simple way to keep track of everything and help figure out what kind of things I wanted to make, what things we liked to eat and what we didn't. I also tried to make bread a few times. I used the no knead bread recipe from Acre Homestead, Becky at Acre Homestead. And this was the first time I had made it, that picture was, and it turned out beautifully. I've made it a couple times since then, and I think it's just me. I think it's a me error. There's nothing wrong with the recipe. I tried making some grape jelly. That didn't go well. I tried. I would love to try making jelly again. Being in the pantry challenge, I was trying to challenge myself to try new things, make new things, do new things. So I had tried to make grape jelly. I followed the recipe, but I overboiled the fruit and sugar mixture. I think I might have added too much sugar. It more so like crystallized than kind of turned into like the jelly texture. It still tastes good. It doesn't seem too sugary for the fact that it's so crystallized, but that was a failed experience. But it was something to try during the challenge. I feel like a lot of people that participate in it kind of follow similar guidelines where you're in the challenge. You're not supposed to go grocery shopping. The goal is to use up what you have, not buy more to use. But I did splurge on something for myself. I found a Le Creuset Dutch oven. I had been wanting a Dutch oven, found it as a deal, so I went ahead and I bought that. So I think that was really the only splurge that I had during the challenge. This was another one of the dinners that we had. So these were some pork chops, and I had crusted them with chili cheese Fritos because we had a bunch of Fritos. We had one of those big like variety pack of potato chips, and I don't eat them. My boyfriend would take them for his lunches, but there were a few like of the flavors that he isn't a fan of or doesn't necessarily grab first. So I made some Fritos, chili cheese Fritos crusted pork chops, and they were very good. That was a really good combination. And I had made cornbread, so I used up not all of my cornmeal, but a good portion of it, a good chunk of it. I actually don't know what size bag it was. I think it was more than a pound. It seemed heavy. I don't know. But so I made a dent in my cornmeal supply during the pantry challenge because we had cornbread waffles and chili waffles and then cornbread muffins with our pork chops and green beans, and I made the homemade pickles out of some cucumbers before they went bad. This is some applesauce that I canned up. Put it in these tiny little jars so that it could be easy to take one for lunches. It's a super simple recipe. I found it on Pinterest, I think. You peel and core your apples. You can also add pears if you wanted to, but this time around, I've done it both ways. But this time around, I just did apples. And you put them in the Instant Pot with a little bit of water. You can add cinnamon, you can add nutmeg. I think I've done a tiny bit of pumpkin pie spice before because at the time I didn't have cinnamon, and it had, you know, it has cinnamon, it has nutmeg, allspice, all the things. So you can kind of mix and match the spices, I think, depending on how cinnamony you want it to taste, or how much nutmeg you want to have in it or whatnot. I did not add any sugar to it. The only sweetness in it is from the natural sweetness of the apples and or the pears, if you decide to add the pears. So you put the apples plus or minus the pears, some lemon juice, the spices that you want, and I think it's a 1/3 cup or a 1/4 cup of water in your Instant Pot for 5 minutes on high pressure. I usually take my hand mixer and I mix it up, and then yeah, I just ladled it into the jars and water bath canned it. After the challenge, I tried making the applesauce. I also made, this is an in progress picture of some strawberry jam. There's my strawberry jam. That turned out so good. I don't know if it'll ever taste as good again. I think that was very much beginner's luck. And I know it seems like if you follow the recipe, the next times you would make it, it would taste the same, but I feel like it's just so good that it's not going to taste the same again. But it's going to get you hooked, and it's going to keep you wanting to make it. I also had a pretty cool breakthrough, maybe not a breakthrough, but a really cool moment. This was a few days after. I think that is such an accomplishment. I know it's not much, it's a tiny shelf. But those are all of the things that I have canned myself, that I have made, homemade, and canned myself. And I think that is a huge accomplishment. That is something to be very proud of. Not just me personally, but I think anyone who is learning how to preserve food and can and anything along those lines, when you have a few items that you have put the time and effort into making, when you get to see them all laid out, and your supply just keeps building and building because you're adding more things to the shelf, it's so rewarding. It's so cool. You should be proud of yourself for what you're doing. Anyway, on that shelf, I have the strawberry jam, 1 or 2 pint jars, I think they're pints, of apple pear sauce downstairs yet, and some apple jam, like apple pie jam. That is also very good. The applesauce that I made, and then I guess there is some like trail mix. I didn't make that, but I just have it. It's on the same shelf for now. But so that was kind of just a cool way to end the challenge, is to be able to have all of the things that I have made homemade and canned, home canned, to have them on a shelf like that. It's super cool. It's really encouraging that, you know, what I'm doing is not going to waste. I am learning new skills. I am continuously building upon those skills. So I'm really hoping that this year, during harvest season, garden season, I will be able to have more that I can try and preserve up, and we'll be able to use some of that this upcoming winter for Pantry Challenge 2023, 24. Through the winter, it might be 2023 to 2024 somewhere, or maybe early 2024, depending on what rules I plan to follow. But it's cool to think about that the things that, you know, I'm producing, hopefully producing, I get to preserve them up, and we'll get to reap the rewards. Hopefully not just when they're in season, throughout the winter as well, during the Pantry Challenge. thank you for watching. As I talked about the pantry challenge a little bit, I know I'm kind of all over the place and I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. That seems to be the theme around here. So if you had any interest in watching more videos, feel free to check out my account. But thank you for being here, and I hope to see you next time.